The Tony Harris Taylor Show.
To go to another level, you must try to learn and hear something new. So make a change today. So don't procrastinate and see your business grow and change. So check out Testing Results, yeah, with Tony Harris Taylor. Tony Harris Taylor. Testing Results, oh yeah, with Tony Harris Taylor. Yeah, yeah.
Welcome to the Drastic Results with Tony Harris Taylor Show. I am so glad that you are tuning in, whether you're tuning in now live or later on replay. Thank you for being consistent with watching the Drastic Results with Tony Harris Taylor Show. Speaking of consistency, today my guest is ill, and I'm so sorry to hear that. She's going to be fine, but she couldn't make it today. And I could have played a replay, or I could have just said, forget it. Nobody's paying attention anyway. But I decided I wanted to show up because, after all, that's what I teach, is to show up, be consistent with the show up. So today I am here and we're going to talk a little bit about branding because that's what my guest was going to talk about. And then we're going to talk about the power of small rooms. Small rooms get big results. So let's talk about the power of branding. So Caitlin Penny, shout out to her, is my branding expert. She's been a sponsor at 2 of my events. She redid the Drastic Results logo with the face in it. You know, I love that. Good shout out to Caitlin for that. And she said that came to her in the middle of the night and she put that together. And of course I said, you know, I'm a Black girl. I got different hairs all the time. So she made me 3 versions of that logo with different hairstyles. I really appreciate her going the extra mile. But the question is, how important is branding? You know, I work with a lot of realtors and a lot of people, financial professionals, and they're latched on to their company's brand, but they are not branding themselves. And I want to tell you that it is critical, even if you are in a self-explanatory business, that you have your own brand. And then when you have your brand, you walk the talk and you live and market that brand. I promise you, there's nobody in my network that can hear the word drastic in a regular conversation and my image or what I do doesn't pop into their head, because it does for me, right? When somebody just on TV says the word drastic, I'm like, there I am again. So having a brand that is relatable, that people recognize, and then playing that thing so that they get it into their psyche, that those things represent you. So an example is one of my coaching clients, Sheila Collins. Sheila, shout out to you if you're watching it or on replay. Hey girl, Sheila is the Reset Realtor. The Reset Realtor. And that actually came when we went to a conference together called the Reset Conference. And during that conference, she had the epiphany because of her background. She has a facial, childhood facial deformity, and she's had multiple surgeries. And because of that, every time she had a new surgery, it was a reset. And she's been through life changes. Her children's dad passed away and she became a widow. And so she had to reset her life. And now the people she serves are in a reset. She serves people who are experiencing estate planning issues around real estate. She serves people who've gone through a life change, divorce, disability, a marriage, a new baby. All those are resets. Her brand matches her background, but also matches what her clients does. And so it took her a minute to embrace the brand, We coached around it for a long time, but now you can't stop her from talking about being the reset realtor. The other thing about branding is sometimes you're too close to it and you need help to figure out what that brand should be. How do you get that help? You hire an expert. Caitlin is an expert. I do some branding in my conversations, like with Sheila, but the expert, and I don't do logos. She's the expert graphic artist and all of that. So, but you need help because sometimes you're too close to your brand. And then sometimes I worked with, had a call with someone last week, and she had a perfect brand right there in front of her, and she did not see it until I pointed it out. So make sure that you have a brand that is recognizable, that people will, it brings you to mind when people hear it. Now, when I hear the word reset, I think of Sheila. When you see the word drastic, hear the word drastic, I know you think of me. Now, me, I'm extreme. Everybody knows my brand is red color. I drive a red car. I have a license plate on the red car that says drastic. And I have more than once been called out. Are you here? Because they see my license plate. Somebody in my network passed by my house, saw my car, and I happened to be outside, and he stopped. He said, "I saw the car. I knew it was you." So, what is your brand? How are you leaving a memory print in people's minds with your brand? The next thing I want to talk about is small rooms, big results. Small rooms, big results. You know, when you do events or you attend events, people are always impressed when there's 100 people in the room. I am too, because it's hard to get people to show up. And so when 100 people show up, that's very impressive for the host. But I will tell you, big rooms, you get lost in the sauce. I don't like big rooms. I even get lost in the sauce, and I know how to do it. Small rooms create bigger results. They're more intimate. In fact, my NIA groups, we normally have 20 to 25 people at the meeting. And I like it that way. Why? Because you can dig deeper on those connections versus trying to go wide. You can go deep in a small room. And so many of you know the story of how NIA came to me, but I'm going to tell it again from a different perspective. So NIA came to me when I showed up 5 hours from my home in a small town for a women's retreat. I get to the retreat. I don't know how many people are going to be there, but I get to the retreat and it's about 12 women. And it was a retreat, so it got pretty intimate. But one of the women there was an NIA franchise owner. When she heard what I do, she said, "Oh my gosh, you should be an NIA franchise owner." I'm like, "What's NIA?" Well, long story short, she followed up with me at the precise time, but I met her in a room of 12 people. 12. Now, I could have easily said, I drive 5 hours for this, 12 people. That one person, one, it only takes one to change your life. One person changed the trajectory of my life in a small, intimate room. So don't be fixated on how many people are there. It doesn't matter. Be fixated on connecting with the people who do show up and dig deep on those relationships, even if it's 3 or 4 people. I've had great results in a room of 6 people. I sure have, because I'm all about connection. But when it's a giant room, it becomes more of a business card swap, and nobody gets anything from that. So don't beget small rooms. In fact, I'm going to give you a tip here for creating your own small room event. A table for 10. Shout out to Nikki and TJ, who's having their table for 10 later this month. They got that from my event, and they partnered, met at the event, collaborating, creating their own table for 10, Third Ward, Houston, to bring business owners together so they know each other exists, what each other does, and can refer each other business. Create a table for 10. And that table for 10 can grow exponentially, not only for you as the host, but for the people who show up. Small rooms get drastic results. So I've hired a self-care coach. Shout out to Dr. Shayna Lewis. And I'm proud of myself for doing that because self-care is something that I actually am weak at. And I hired a self-care coach. And she happened to have been on Kelly and Ryan May 31st, the last day of mental health. So yesterday we had our orientation. I was like, girl, how did you get in the room? She said, girl, you know it was networking. But let me tell you the story. She said, I flew to Los Angeles to be a speaker, and it was a low showing. 20 people. 20 people. And she thought, Lord, why did you send me to this event? There is nobody here. She did her thing. She gave her all in her presentation. And there was one person in the room who loved everything she said. She said, I was intentional because I was getting the good vibe from the lady. So I sat with her at lunch. Well, the lady happened to be a former producer for GMA. Shayna ain't stupid. So she sat at the table with the lady and she said, can I ask you a question? She asked the lady, how can she grow her brand so that it would be more visible? And how can she get on a show like GMA? Turns out the lady was a key contact to one of the producers of the Kelly and Ryan show. And the rest is history. She said there were 20 people in the room. I was wondering why the heck was I here? And one person. All it takes is one. This is two. So all it takes is one person to change the trajectory of your life. And it's more likely you're going to meet that one person in a small room. It's happened for me every single time. So don't begrudge small events. Don't begrudge small rooms. Small rooms get big results if you know how to build real connections, be intentional, and show up. Not just show up and sit there. All right. Shayna could have heard the lady speak and she could have sat across the room, but she was intentional and she asked for help. So show up, small rooms, drastic results. And don't forget, you got to have a solid brand. This was the other thing Shayna said, which is so true. She said, the lady said, send me what you got. She mailed her a book. She mailed her marketing materials, sent her to her website. Everything was ready. She stays ready because you ain't got to get ready. So if you're in the get ready phase and you need help with that, call me. But she stays ready. If you don't have that book, get the book. I'm telling you, the book, it opens doors. Speaking of books, we got one being released in July, Viral Networking for Drastic Results, which is getting ready to be trademarked. And so we're going to start, you got to be ready because you never know when the opportunity is going to come. So this is a short show today, half the time, but I didn't want to blow the show off because my guest is in Get Well, Caitlin, and we'll reschedule you for another time soon. But I wanted to give you some thoughts, some words of wisdom that I live by, that I run my business by, that I encourage my clients to go by, and it's working. Show up, be up, follow up, and you will blow up, especially in small rooms. Don't forget the table for 10. Do it. Do it. Table for 10, 10 prospects, people that you want to get connected deeper with. And Get a sponsor to pay for the food. It's a brilliant, brilliant strategy, and shame on you if you don't do it. This is Tony Harris Taylor saying take a drastic step today for a fantastic tomorrow, and we'll see you next week with another fabulous guest. Bye.